Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, last week we talked about, something very, very fundamental that needed to happen for ZBEC Network for us to see some type of pump this week. Now, I get it that the week is not over, but I still expect for us to end fairly green, unless, of course, there's going to be some kind of anomaly event with the world, or if Bitcoin were to crash, let's just say thousands of dollars, that would still affect us, right? That is ultimately it. The reason why I called for pumps to happen this week, even mid last week and at the end of last week, is because of the structure we saw. Okay. We saw there were bottoms right over here at 0.00274 on the weekly. And we said, look, this weekly candle, it doesn't need to pump. Okay, that is not its purpose. Yes, of course, I get it. We want it to pump. We always want things to pump, but I understand. Look, that's not how the markets work. The markets work in a very fundamental way, and in fact, the more fundamental your coin is now, the better it will be for altcoin season during its peak. Okay, and during its prime. That is just the reality. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that. Look, man, we do have this, you know, bottom over here, this higher low compared to this one. And that is exactly what we're looking for. We're just saying, hey, even if it closed kind of lower, right? Even if it closed a couple percent lower, we're saying it still would have been validated, right? Even if it closed another 10, 13% lower, it technically would have been validated. But the fact that it was so strong, that the rejection was even bigger than the body, was also a very, very nice sign. And we can see, right, the markets were kind of baiting, suggesting, oh, look, price action looks weak on a Saturday and Sunday. And then guess what? Monday came out roaring. Now, look, we broke through one zone. Okay. This was one zone over here, right? Boom. But the bigger zone where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen, is this zone over here at pretty much 0.004. Okay. This is actually a very key and fundamental zone for Zebec, right? Arguably its biggest one. And the reason why I would say it's biggest one is because it's the most relevant one, right? Someone can argue that, well, this is technically the biggest support here, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, you're not wrong. But it's also like, we're never going to really see this. Like, we're never going to see this again. So it's kind of irrelevant. And in terms of relevancy, by far 0.004 is the biggest resistance slash support zone, depending on what happens, right? When we're below it, it's resistance. When we're above it, it's kind of support. Now, the question is, are we going to fake out and then, completely drop back, or are we going to hold it? Now, personally, I think we are going to hold it, right? I say this because mainly of how these weekly candles went, boom, right here, and this being higher. And we've seen it in the past that every time we had something similar where we had, boom, let's just say a low and then a higher low, we saw it shortly after, right? Within a few literal 2 to 3 weeks, boom, right? Rally, right? We have low, higher low, and then 1, 2, 3 weeks later, pump. Okay. We have a low. Technically, it's a higher low. And then look at that. 2 weeks later, it's up. Okay. Now, I understand the context was a little different back then, but it's still the same thing. It's always going to be the same thing. Trading is always the same thing. That's what people say when you're a professional trader, you eventually get bored of looking at the same thing. But it's not, because it's like if you're looking at the same thing, you can just make money consistently looking at the same thing, then that's actually like the best thing ever. Like, why would I want anything to switch? Anyways, those are just what things people say. Look, we see some type of rejection. This is normal, right? This is normal. Don't panic, right? We are looking to be retesting off of this key zone. Okay, we broke through it, and now this is the second most important part: is, are we going to hold? And I think overall, yes. Like I said, because of the weekly, right? I do think there will be some time period where we probably go again sideways for a couple of days as the high probability play, right? We could be lingering around 0.004 for possibly a up to, let's say, 2 weeks, right? We could see something where this week is going to end fairly green, right? Let's say even if it ends like this, right? It ends over here, boom. Next week, we would probably get a sell candle at one point, right? We probably would pull back just a little bit, probably get some type of rejection. And then the following week after that, we would see even a bigger pump, right? Looking to reclaim this zone over here of 0.005. Okay. The market is just taking things step by step, people. It is practically going from zone to zone. And sometimes it takes 1 week to pump, 1 week to, retest and retrace, and then again another week to pump and then rinse and repeat. So, but a lot of progress can be done in a month, and it's not a bad thing. Look, the fun part will come. I could assure you the most fun part will come. Okay. When we look at Bitcoin dominance, as of right now, it is at a very, very crucial area. Okay. I know some people are calling for altcoin season right now, but for me, I'm just saying, hold on. Okay. This is a massive support zone, an extremely big, massive support zone. We had something similar play out in November slash beginning of December, where it went down to also a very massive support zone before creating another leg. And although this sell weekly candle is probably the strongest we had since 2022, I'm still being cautious because the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, right? Even if I want extra confirmation, and then let's say 2 weeks later, we are still, let's say we do go up for a week a little bit, and then the next week we sell off, and then we get the green light, that's not really going to make a difference for our portfolios because a lot of us have been dollar cost averaging throughout the last whatever amount of time. We've been buying at the lows, and this is just one of those things that it shouldn't really make a difference for you at that point, right? The only way it makes a difference is if you are not in the markets, okay? Because then if it goes up and slams lower, that means all coins go higher, and of course, people that are entering then get later positions. But right now, this is just all this is all kind of irrelevant for us. This is just more of an indicator. Be like, okay, yeah, altcoin season is about to be around the corner. We are about to slam down 20, 30, 40%. We're about to see the biggest gains ever, right? This is the main thing, right? This thing over here is going to be the main thing. This dump of multiple weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, is the main thing that makes something like, for example, Zebec, right? I'll give you a prime example. If Zebec was at this price at 0.004, and we had those huge 4 to 6 weeks rally, I mean, like huge, you don't understand. We could see this coin literally, right? And I mean this literally, like at 10 cents within a month span. Like, you guys don't understand how crazy things get. You don't understand how overinflated all of these projects are going to be. And yes, overinflated, because Zebec at 10, 15, 20, 30, a dollar, whatever it is technically overinflated. And it's not because the project itself or whatever, it's because anything that eventually shoots up like a damn rocket, right? Eventually, does need to pull back. It's unsustainable. Okay. Usually you see some type of big crash, then it slows down a little bit. Then you have one little fake rally, but then it just kind of accumulates and goes lower. Okay. And then that's what people call like bear season. And it's like the boring part, right? It's the boring part. And eventually, then we start going sideways for a while. And then eventually we start breaking up. Okay. But like I said, uh, you know, all these projects are going to get overinflated, overvalued, and that is why it's so extremely important to sell during its prime. You can sell a little bit before its prime, you can sell a little bit after its prime, but those couple of weeks, you want to be selling near the end for maximum profit. But of course, everyone has their own plan, and if you already have a plan, make sure you stick to it. And if you need a plan, make sure to join a private community as well. You get a portfolio review, and of course, you'll be plugged in to a whole bunch of other coins we're looking to get in super early. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Zebec is on the rise. I expect it to do fairly well this week. It would be really surprising if it flipped bearish. No indication of it flipping bearish. If anything, it just looks more bullish. That is it. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.